So anyway, I'm going to explain kids now, for those of you brave souls who actually want to run this on Xbox. So the difference between Xbox and PS2 slash GC kids is that Xbox has different spawning methods, so you can see how like you can I don't know if my capture card will show you this because I think XSplit limits quality, but you can see that you can clearly see that there are two kids floating around, right? And over there you can see another kid floating around. That's because Xbox loads all entities in the map at the same time and they stay loaded. So if I were to go over to Larry right now, that spin bot that's by the little area that you have to cross to get to the tower where you sponge glide, that'd still be there as well. I'm just not at high enough ground for you to be able to see it, but everything in the map is spawned in, including the kids. And the kids also run on a cycle. They're quite like Museum in that if you make a mistake in the Museum, especially if you're going for fast cycle, you probably aren't going to make your cycle and you're going to lose a lot of time. Now on top of this, you have... Oh yeah, I believe I just mentioned this, but PS2 kids and GameCube kids spawn when you get close to them, much like every other entity in the game. So you can miss one kid, you can have trouble on one kid, miss it, like that's alright. You can just hit it, you can just turn around and hit it again on GameCube and PS2 and go to the next kid. But on Xbox, if you miss one kid, the positioning of the next kid and every kid after is going to be messed up. So missing one kid can cost you around 20 seconds or more, like 20 to 30 seconds. And that's if you're good at the backup strats that I'm going to teach you as well. You need to have backup strats. There are a couple of them that I could show, but ultimately you shouldn't really do this unless you're confident you'll get it on your first try. But even then, there's a little bit of RNG involved because there's more than one cycle that I have to go over. So this is an Xbox Kids tutorial. I've never tried doing the Kids route on GameCube. I might link Fuff's PB and GameCube in the description because I know he tried Kids in one of his GameCube runs. So I guess you can see what route he did. And there are also some videos that you can find that Cole did with Kids too. But Xbox Kids is so much harder to hit than GameCube and PlayStation 2. That's why we haven't done Kids yet until now. Until I found this route and decided that I hate myself and wanted to do it in runs. So here's the Kids route that I made like a week ago, I believe. I already got 102 with it, so it's definitely a good route. Now, the Kids route replaces Ballroom. So instead of doing the Murmelair, like the whole Ballroom thing, you have to go into the Ballroom anyway. You hit the button. That's like the security buttons to turn off the security system. You need to hit that button and you just walk straight through as if the Ballroom already happened. And then when you get here in Goo Lagoon 2, you're going to do the moat trick where you activate that button over there, you get the spatula behind the warp, and then you death warp here. Now, most people are used to the route where you just jump in the box to hit this thing, this hammer bot on the stack. But instead of doing that, you want to, as quickly as possible, come to this box and get a cruise boost on your first try. Now, it's very important that you get the cruise boost on your first try, because if you miss a cruise boost, the cycle will be off. Now let's go over the first cycle. So there are two main different types of cycles, but then RNG affects the other types of cycles within those cycles. So the first cycle that we're going to go over is the most important one because if you get this cycle, you get it on your first try. So this is the Deathwarp Cycle. So the reason why I kill myself right before I got the checkpoint here. Okay, well I have to warp here then. The reason why I always kill myself before I practice Kids is because the Death Warp activates a different cycle than warping to the level. So like what I just did now, warping to King of the Castle, that's a different cycle. And you can tell it's a different cycle because the second kid is a little bit farther to the left when you reach him in the warp cycle. But actually it's a lot easier to hit. But it takes too much time to reload the game. You want to do the Death Warp instead. So you'll see that the kid is farther to the right, the second one on the cycle. So I'm going to run through a Death Warp cycle. Hopefully I don't mess up. By the way, you need to be as fast as possible. You need to have a mastery of cruise boost movement for this to work. Also, the kids are a lot like Tiki's in the Sea Needle. Sometimes you'll hit like the collision box with a balloon and they won't pop. And if that happens, you just have to hope that doesn't happen, basically. But if it does happen, I'll show you backup strats. And then I can't really show this on this. I can't really show this on this file, but basically from this angle, you can talk to Mrs. Puff with the cruise boost activated, and when you get the spatula, SpongeBob will be pulled in this direction, and one of two things will happen. If you get the precise angle where he lands here, you'll death warp as long as you don't get the checkpoint that's by Mrs. Puff, and you'll appear by the box in the sandcastle. You can just jump in and shoot the hammer bot from there. Or if you get the less precise angle, you'll hit this little part of goo here and you'll pop up onto this platform and you'll slide around this way. So if that happens, you just turn the camera and then I'll take a cruise to show you. So you'll be sliding this way, right? And the spatula animation ends, you turn the camera and then you just go this way. They're both about the same in time. I think Death Warp saves a half a second, but I'm not entirely sure. But those are the two methods for ending the cycle. Now you might have noticed that for that first kid, he was pulled inward over the pillar. So that is another cycle that we're going to go over due to RNG. There are two different types of cycles that can happen due to RNG. And they all have to do with the first kid. The first kid can either be pulled in over the first pillar, or he'll go around it. And in the case that he goes around it, it's much harder to actually hit it. And sometimes when you hit it, it won't actually pop. So it's really annoying. Basically, if you're in a run, you have to really hope that you get inward cycle because it's a lot easier. So I'm gonna try to get an example of outward cycle. So you can notice this is RNG, by the way. It's a half chance, I believe. It seems like it would be a half chance. Oh yeah, right. I already popped the balloons. I have to stop and go back in. I'm not going for 102.04. I'm going for like 10-second PBs, man. I'm at the point in the game where I have to take a 10-second PB and be happy with it. So let's see if we can get an outward cycle to demonstrate. Okay, this is an outward cycle, and that was a really bad one too. Now I'm going to explain why that one was so bad. So with outward cycle, there's a huge problem here that you can see that these pillars rock back and forth. And I don't think that the pillars run on a cycle. I believe that the pillars, they move back and forth, or like they continue moving after you die. Like the cycle isn't reset. Because sometimes you'll be in a situation where it's this far back and the kid's over here. So in that case, you can't really do much. You just get screwed by the game and you have to go through the rest of the cycle and warp back to the beginning and try to hit the kid again. So not only does this section require an immense amount of skill with controlling your movement, but it also requires luck to actually get the correct cycle in relation to the platforms, because the same thing can happen over there. I don't want to keep trying until I get like a bad cycle, because it isn't as common as getting a good cycle. I don't mess up kids very often when I'm doing them in my PBs. When I'm popping the balloons in my PBs, I should say, because that sounds kind of weird. I really have to start calling this the balloons mission, because saying that we're doing kids just sounds kind of funny. So I'm going to try to show you the warp cycle now, and you'll see how it's a little bit different than the death warp cycle. If I can get cruise boost first try. Still have to warm up. Okay, that time I got inward cycle, but I didn't react to it. So you see, like, you have to be able to react to which cycle is coming. So when the kid comes around, sometimes he'll turn in this way, sometimes he'll turn that way. So it's very subtle movement that you need to recognize. Like within the window of landing, like from here to landing here, you need to be able to recognize which cycle you're getting. Otherwise you'll fail it. So it requires very good reaction time as well to perform this trick. World record happened like 15 hours ago. I couldn't sleep, so I just decided to do a couple of runs, and my second attempt without practicing was a 102. Okay, so here's Warp Cycle. I'm going to try not to mess it up for you guys. I never practice Warp Cycle because I never die, like really, if I mess up. Alright, well I'll just show you. That's the main difference between Warp Cycle and regular Deathwarp Cycle, is that the kid appears farther to the left here, and it's actually a lot easier to hit him when that's happening. Also, you can't really wait around on these pillars or they sink. Kind of sucks. But again, it's fast movement. If you're waiting anyway, you're probably gonna miss the rest of the cycle. That's the first main difference. Now I'm gonna try to show you the rest of the Warp Cycle, because I completely forgot there was more to it, because I never have to use Warp Cycle. If I miss one balloon, it warrants a reset pretty much at this point, so I don't really practice it much. That's why I'm messing up on it. I'll try to show you a Warp Cycle just because I like you guys. Nope. Terrible at this game, man. Alright, I'm going to take my time this time. Usually that happens when I'm first warming up. Usually I need to warm up for a bit to recognize when. Also, if you see how when I did 3 cruise boosts there, I just wanted to point that out. I had to do 3 because I missed a couple. You'll miss the cycle, and sometimes you'll get hit by that thing. That's why you absolutely have to get it on your first try if this is going to work. Or you'll lose a ton of time. So if you mess up the first time, you do Warp Cycle. This is a bit faster pace at the beginning. I forgot. There's actually a faster method for that kid, but it's fine. We're still going to hit the same cycle. So that's Warp Cycle. And then you just hit this kid over here. So it's technically slightly faster. It's slightly faster than the regular cycle, Deathwarp Cycle. But you never want to actually, by it being faster, you can't actually use it because the loading screen takes too much time. But it's a good backup if you miss the first couple of kids and you want to finish the cycle. Because if you miss the first couple of kids and then you get the other kids, then you can just, you know, you finish the first 2 after another load, and then you talk to Mrs. Puff and you'll have it. That's a good backup. This is pretty much the backup cycle. And what else do I want to tell you guys about this mission? Oh yeah, again, this route only works on Xbox. It's around a 50-second spatula for Xbox, I think so. Maybe a bit faster because it might not be fully optimized yet. I haven't really timed the differences between the Death Warp at the end and just getting popped up and going straight here. So it might be like a 49.5 second spatula, but I think it's a 50-second spatula. It's a lot better than doing Ballroom, if you can actually land the cycles and everything. And again, I'm going to try to link a video in the description of a good balloons route if you aren't running on Xbox. Alright, so that ends this tutorial. I want to do more tutorials today.